What's up guys, I am Chirag and welcome to part 13 of tutorial series on Amazon API Gateway tutorial. In the previous tutorial, I have taken you through on how to generate and return the pre-signed URL to upload a file in the S3 bucket using API Gateway. And now in this tutorial, I am going to cover on how we can upload a file using API Gateway along with metadata. Right, so let's see how we can do that. So before moving further, let's have a look at the Postman first. So consider this is an API endpoint that we have and we are using post method. And for example, I want to pass a file or I want to upload a file along with some metadata, right? So here as you can see, there is metadata and I want to pass a JSON data as a metadata, right? Like file name or file type or file size or whatever, right? So how we can achieve this? So how we can upload a file as well as upload a metadata along with the file in a single go, right? So let's get started. So here we are going to create a new lambda function. So first of all, navigate to lambda management console and say create function. Now here within function name, I will say upload file meta. Okay. And I will select runtime as Python 3.8. Within permission, select use an existing role. Here I will select lambda, that is lambda API gateway role, and I will say create function. Now once the function is created, we will jump back to the API gateway, right? So here we are going to create a new resource. So once you are within the API gateway you have created, click on resources, then click on action, say create resource. I will say upload and I will say create resource, and then select the resource that you have created and click on actions and say create method. Now here we are going to select post method and then click on the tick mark. Now it will ask us to integrate the lambda function. So here we are going to use lambda proxy integration. So check this checkbox. And within lambda function, select the lambda function that we have just created. So that is that is upload file meta, right? And click on save. Okay. Now once the method has been created, click on settings from the left panel. Scroll down to binary media types. So here as you can see that I have added the wildcard, right? So in case if you don't want to add wildcard, what you can do is click on add binary media type and add multipart slash form data, right? Because this is the content type that we are going to use further, right? So add this content type, or you can also add the wildcard. So I'm going to delete this since I already have the wildcard, right? So now we are all done with the API gateway in terms of configuration and everything, right? So now let's go back to our lambda function. So here we are going to modify this code, right? So I have already uploaded the code for this lambda function on the GitHub repo, and you can find the link of this file or code in the video description, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this code and I will paste it over here. Paste, and I will say save. Now I will take you through the code at high level, right? So here the objective is to upload a file to the S3 bucket, right? So here we are using 4 libraries, that is JSON, base64, boto3 and email, right? So now on line number 13 we are defining the S3 object. Now on line number 16 we are decoding data into bytes. If you remember, then within API gateway settings under binary media type we had defined the wildcard, or if you have not defined the wildcard, you would have defined multi-part form data, right? So that is ideally going to convert the file data or whatever file that we are going to upload to the base64 encoding, right? So here we are decoding that base64 encoding, right? And then on line number 18 we are fetching content type from the event that we will get over here, right? And then on line number 20 we are concatenating content hyphen type colon with the content type that we are getting on line number 18. So moving along on line number 26 we are checking that whether the message is it multi-part or not. So on line number 29, if it is multi-part, if the message is multi-part, then we are moving further. On line number 30 we have defined an empty dictionary, and on line number 32 there is a for loop which is responsible for fetching all the content that we are passing from the postman, like file, then metadata and whatever you are passing, right? So line number 32 is responsible for fetching that data, right? And then on line number 36 you can see that I'm defining file name equal to json.loads multi-part content of metadata of file name, right? So this metadata is coming from here, this key, right? So this metadata is referring to this one, and this file name is referring to this meta, right? So instead of meta it's file name, right? Or whatever you are passing. If you are passing meta, then you can replace this file name with meta over here, right? So I can say meta instead of file name. Now apart from these two parameters, if you're passing something like this along with within this JSON saying file size, right, like 200, then what you have to do here is so you can define like file underscore size equal to, copy this, paste it over here. So we are fetching it from metadata, but instead of file name you will say file size, right? So this is how you can pass multiple parameter, or you can add multiple key value pair within this JSON data, right? So for instance I will remove this, and then finally on line number 31 we are uploading the binary content to the S3 bucket, right? So if you look at line number 39 here we have to define bucket name. So in my case it's going to be this bucket, that is upload API tutorial, right? So I will replace this bucket name with upload API tutorial bucket, and then I have key equal to defined as file name. So file name is something I am getting from the end client, right, in the form of multi-part form data, right? And then finally I have body, and it says multi-part underscore content of file. So this multi-part underscore content of file is coming from here, right? So it should be something like this, right? So it's referring to this one. So if you see, then on line number 30 we are defined as an empty dictionary of multi-part content, and here on line number 33 we are appending those keys and values, right? So you can see that multi-part content of part.get param. So this is the key basically. So in this case it's going to be the file and the metadata, that's it. And then we are assigning the payload or the value that the end client is passing from the postman, right? So that's where we are getting a key value pair over here. And then once the file is uploaded successfully, we are returning saying that the status code 200 and file uploaded successfully. So in case if line number 29 evaluates to false, then it will go to line number 46 and it will say upload failed, right? Or file didn't upload successfully. So now so this is the code. So now if we look at the S3 bucket, then I have content1.pdf and patreon.pdf. That's it. So let's go back to API gateway. Since we have created a new resource and new method, we have to deploy this API. So click on actions, say deploy API. Select the deployment stage and say deploy. Right. Now we will copy this invocation URL. Copy. Let's go to Postman. We will open a new tab over here. Paste it over here / resource. That is, in my case, it's upload. Let's double check. Yeah, it's upload, right? Now instead of get, it's going to be post. And then within headers, we are going to pass content type as multi-part form data, right? Now once the header is defined, click on body, select form data from here. Now here we will say file. You can define any key, right? But if you are defining any other key over here, then you have to go ahead in your lambda function and you have to change that. So here, as you can see, within multi-part content of file, we are getting the file data, right? So in case if I pass file data over here, then I have to define file data over here. Okay. So right now I am keeping it simple. I will say file. And then click on this drop down, say file, select a file. I will say pad.pdf, right? And then I want to pass the metadata. So I will say metadata. So make sure whatever you are passing over here as metadata is referring to this metadata, right? So if you are changing something over here, you have to change it over here, right? So I'm keeping it same. So it's metadata, and then I'm passing JSON data over here. So all I want to pass is file name. For now, I will say file name and save this pad.pdf as, I will say something underscore sample.pdf, right? Within double quotes. Right, so we are all done. So make sure file, we have file over here, we have metadata over here, and from this metadata we are parsing this JSON body, right? So that is file name, and that is where I am parsing metadata of file name as a file name, right? So I think that's it. So I think we are all done with the Postman. Now all we need to do is click on send. So I hope everything is fine and we will get the success response. So it says internal server error. And why is that? So let's have a look at the CloudWatch logs. Click on monitoring view logs in CloudWatch. Let's open this log. So multi-part check is true. Client error. An error occurred. All access disabled when calling the put operation. All access to this object has been disabled. Okay. So as you can see that the bucket name is not being updated within the lambda function, right? So I have to go back to code and I have to save this lambda function. I forgot to save this lambda function after updating this bucket name. So I will say save. Now let's try again. Go back to Postman. Say send. So it says file uploaded successfully, right? Now the file should be saved as something underscore sample.pdf with an S3 bucket, right? So let's go back to CloudWatch logs. We have a new log, click on that. Oh, why are we coming over here? We have to go to S3 bucket, right? So let's reload this. So as you can see, right, something underscore sample.pdf is being uploaded. We can open it or download it, right? Let's have a look. And we have this file, right? Support my work or whatever that is. So that's how you can upload a file along with the metadata, right? So let me give you another quick example. So now let's say I want to pass file size. So I'm just showing you that how we can access these values, right? So I will say file size as 2 MB. Okay. Now since we are adding few things over here, we have to change back into the lambda function, right? So I will say file underscore size equal to json.loads multipart underscore content metadata. Now instead of file name, I want to access file size, right? So make sure you have spelled it correctly. And then finally I will say print file underscore size. I'll say file size is this. Okay, let's save this. Let's also delete the logs. Now let's go back to Postman and try to re-upload this file again. So say send. So everything worked well, right? Let's have a look at the CloudWatch logs. So multipart check is true. That's good. Now we should also have the file size printed over here. So as you can see, we had passed file size as 2 MB, and this is how we can access the values from the form data that we are passing from the Postman, right? So like file and metadata, you can pass on another values like this, right? So in case if you are passing something called file type over here, right? And you say PDF. Okay, so now how you can access this file type? Go back to lambda function, right? Copy this line probably. Now instead of file size, I will say file type. Now here we will not require this file size. Now instead of metadata, all you need to pass is file type. Let's copy this, paste it over here, right? Let's print file type is, and instead of file size, let's say file underscore type, and save this. And let's re-invoke this again, right? So send. Oh, it says internal server error, and why is that? Let's have a look at the CloudWatch logs. So multipart check is true. So it says JSON decode error. Oh yes, that's a mistake. That's my mistake. So here we are not passing JSON as a value, right? Then how can we load it as JSON? So we have to remove this JSON.loads, and we will be able to directly access this file type instead of loading it as JSON, because we are not passing JSON data within file type. Okay, so save this. Let's delete the logs. So file is being uploaded, right? I mean, the file is being replaced successfully in the S3 bucket, right? So let's send. Now I hope it will not throw an error. Let's see. So it says file uploaded successfully, and we should have that file type. So as you can see, file type is PDF, but so you have to decode it, right? So, or you can typecast as string, right? So this is how you can pass metadata as well as upload a file at the same time in a single call, right, using API gateway. Okay, so that's it for now, and till that time, if you want me to do tutorial on any use case or service, then please leave them below and I will try my best to come up with the tutorial as soon as possible. And if you have any queries or comments, then again please leave them below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and see you next time.